It is 11 at night, your phone is still in your hand. You have 400 contacts saved in it, a dozen group chats, notifications stacked up like unopened mail, and yet something in your chest feels hollow, like a house with every light on and nobody home. You call this feeling loneliness. Most people do, but the real answer is far stranger than a feeling. Loneliness is not an emotion at all. It is an alarm. It works the same way hunger works, the same way thirst works, the same way pain works when you touch something hot. Your body has a small number of signals built to keep you alive, and somewhere in your evolutionary history, being cut off from other people became just as dangerous as being cut off from food. So your brain built a warning system for it, a siren that goes off when you are dangerously alone. You just never learned to hear it that way. Go back 100,000 years. Strip away the phone, the apartment, the streetlights outside your window. You are standing on an open plain at dusk, and you are, for whatever reason, by yourself. No fire, no group, no one watching your back. What happens to you? You die. Not metaphorically, actually. A lone human on the savannah without a group was a meal waiting to happen. Predators do not hunt the herd. They hunt the one who wandered off. For nearly the entire span of human existence, isolation was not an inconvenience. It was a death sentence, and evolution does not forget things like that. Think about what a group actually provided back then. Someone to keep watch while you slept. Someone to share meat with when your own hunt failed. Someone to carry you back to camp if you broke a leg a mile from home. None of that was emotional comfort in the way you think of it now. It was infrastructure. It was the only insurance policy that existed. A human without a tribe had no doctor, no food bank, no shelter, no backup plan of any kind. So the body needed a way to make isolation feel unbearable, urgent, impossible to ignore, long before starvation or a predator ever arrived. That urgency is still sitting inside you tonight, even though the tribe now lives behind glass screens instead of firelight. The psychologist John Cacioppo spent much of his career studying exactly this. Cacioppo argued that loneliness evolved the same way physical pain did, as a biological cue demanding immediate action. Pain tells you to pull your hand off the stove. Loneliness tells you to get back to the group, before the group is the only thing standing between you and a predator's jaw. He called it an alarm bell for social disconnection, and he meant that almost literally. Cacioppo's research found that chronic loneliness raises cortisol, disrupts sleep, and puts the body into a kind of low-grade fight or flight state as if it is bracing for an attack that never comes. Your body still runs this program. It does not know the plane is gone. Here is where it gets stranger. Your brain did not just evolve to crave any group. It evolved to crave a very specific size of group. The anthropologist Robin Dunbar spent decades studying primate brains and the size of their social groups, and he found something remarkable. The bigger a primate's neocortex, the larger the social group it could keep track of. When Dunbar applied the same formula to humans, he arrived at a number that has since become famous, 150. That is roughly the number of stable relationships a human brain can meaningfully track. The people whose names, faces, histories, and social standing you can hold in your head at once. Anthropological records back this up almost eerily well. Hunter-gatherer bands, historical village sizes, even the average number of people in a military company all cluster around this same figure, 150. Now look at your phone again. 400 contacts, thousands of followers, maybe. A brain built for a tribe of 150 is now being asked to process the illusion of thousands of relationships at once. Dunbar's model even breaks the number down further, into smaller rings inside the 150. Around 5 people you would call in a genuine crisis, around 15 you consider close, the rest are acquaintances your brain barely has room to store. What do you think happens when a system built for a village is handed a city? It breaks quietly, not with a crash, but with a hum of static that never turns off. That hollow feeling at 11 at night is not confusion, it is precision. Your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do. It is telling you correctly that none of this actually counts. This is the counterintuitive twist. You would assume more contact would quiet the alarm. It does the opposite. In 2010, the researcher Julianne Holt-Lunstad led a massive meta-analysis, pooling data from over 300,000 people across dozens of studies to measure what chronic loneliness actually does to a human body over a lifetime. The result stunned even the researchers involved. Holt-Lunstad found that a lack of strong social connection increased mortality risk by an amount comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It outranked obesity. It outranked physical inactivity. Loneliness, on a purely statistical level, was killing people at a rate similar to a pack of cigarettes. Read that again. Not smoking, not eating badly, Being alone in the way that matters was doing comparable damage to the human body. Why would isolation carry a cost that's steep? Because your body is not measuring how many people are around you. It is measuring how many people would come looking if you disappeared. There is an old experiment that explains why the illusion of company fails to satisfy this alarm, even when it feels for a moment like it might. In the 1950s, the psychologist Harry Harlow separated infant rhesus monkeys from their mothers and gave them two substitutes. One was a bare wire frame that dispensed milk. The other was a soft cloth-covered frame that dispensed nothing at all. Harlow expected the monkeys to cling to whichever one fed them. Instead, the infants spent nearly all of their time clinging to the cloth mother, only visiting the wire, one to feed, then rushing straight back to the comfort of the cloth. Nutrition was not the primary drive. Contact was. Something that resembled warmth mattered more than something that merely kept them alive. Your phone is the wire mother wearing a costume. It delivers something that resembles contact, a notification, a like, a message that arrives and is answered in 9 seconds and forgotten in 12. It feeds a small, immediate craving, and your nervous system for a moment quiets down. But it is not the cloth. It is not warmth. It does not know your face changed when you walked in the room, or that you have been quiet for 3 days, or that you are the kind of tired that does not come from lack of sleep. The alarm goes silent for a second and then returns, a little louder, because it was never actually answered. So why does the modern world feel like the loneliest place a human has ever lived, despite being the most connected? Because connection and contact are not the same signal, and only one of them was built to satisfy the alarm. Think about your own day for a moment. How many people did you speak to today, and how many of them would notice tonight if something in your life quietly went wrong? For most people living in cities of millions, surrounded by other humans on every side, the honest answer to that question is smaller than they would like to admit. You can be a stranger to 1,000 people you technically know. Consider the strange math of a crowded elevator, a packed subway car, an office of 200 coworkers. Physically, you are never alone. Your body, standing shoulder to shoulder with strangers, should have no reason to sound any alarm at all. And yet it does. Because proximity was never the signal your ancestors were built to track. Familiarity was. A crowd of strangers gave a hunter-gatherer no protection whatsoever, because a stranger owed you nothing. Strangers would not share their fire. Strangers would not carry you home, so your nervous system learned, correctly, to ignore raw numbers and search instead for depth. A single person who actually knows you can silence the alarm. 1,000 who do not, cannot, no matter how loud or how close they are. This is where the ancient system and the modern world collide in the strangest way. Your body was built for a world with only one option, a small group of people who all knew each other, hunted together, raised children together, and would have died, searching for you if you vanished for a day. That world had no substitutes. There was no wire mother. There was only the real thing or nothing. Now the substitutes are everywhere, and they are just convincing enough to be dangerous. They let the alarm quiet down without actually resolving the emergency. And an alarm that is muted instead of answered does not protect you. It just goes quiet long enough for the danger to keep building underneath it.